Hey guys, the thesis for this particular excerpt is greed is not nearly as good for people as it is for economies.
We will begin by discussing question 2 of the Part A AP Seminar EOC. And we're going to explain the author's line of reasoning by identifying the claims used to build the argument and the connections between them. So typically when finding claims, you would read each paragraph and find the main idea. However, this article is a little more scattered and not every paragraph has a main idea. After reading paragraph 1, you can point out that the claim is personal wealth and consumption are actually conducive to human happiness. I'm just gonna cry, hang on. Moving on to paragraph 2, you can clearly see that he introduces his counterclaim and cites that greed and unhappiness are the fire in the belly of a consumer economy. In this particular article, after reading paragraph 3, you can tell that there is no main point. He's simply giving out facts here, so you can move on down to paragraph 4. As we move on, still in the counterclaim, author begins his 4th paragraph with the central idea that greed is the backbone of the prevailing philosophy of more. So once again in paragraph 5, the author begins with his main claim, greed drives entrepreneurial investment, and you're going to want to read the whole paragraph still, don't just assume that it's the first sentence. The author now shifts going into a 6th paragraph as he is now stating his argument, and he begins with a strong point by stating the cultural hero system is infusing children around the globe with self-destructive degrees of materialism, avarice, and self-preoccupation. Continuing off of that, in the 7th paragraph, the author clearly stresses that existing levels of constant greed are causing clinical depression and despair in many people. And he introduces his thesis here, and you don't want to get that confused with your claims. As you continue down to paragraphs 8 and 9, you can tell that there really is no main point, so you're going to want to head back to the beginning and look at the author's line of reasoning. Hi. Okay, so looking back at the author's line of reasoning, he begins by stating the context of what he'll be talking about and discussing throughout, and going on down to his counterclaim that he introduces. He starts off with why greed is good for the economy. And he continues that going down. And as you go to the next claim, down here, he continues on with his counterclaims to start talking about what it is here. And then as he goes down to this one, he goes into the effects. So he moves down into his central argument to counter what he said before. And as he goes down, he states his thesis in this paragraph to emphasize what he's talking about. And the rest of his paragraphs going down are just facts to back up what he said before.
If you evaluate his claims, that can help you in finding an implied thesis. So starting up here, he begins with his counterclaims, and if you find the counterclaims, you can help identify the thesis. So right here, he basically begins his argument by saying greed is infusing children in the globe with self-destructive degrees of materialism. And continues that down here, and so arriving at a central point of greed being harmful to the economies as well as people. He continues to speak about how greed is causing clinical depression, and even provides terms for these effects. So all of this supports his thesis, which we get into more in the second question to give you a full understanding of how to find the thesis.
We will now move on to question 3 of the Part A AP Seminar EOC. When finding evidence and evaluating the effectiveness of an article, you need to look at how the author builds support for the claims being used. There are normally two types of evidence that are used in arguments: invalid sources and valid sources. Invalid sources usually do not support the author's claim or are not from a trusted source, while valid evidence can be scientifically proven or is from a trusted source. When analyzing validity, you should first start with the source of the article, and this is a major factor when analyzing the reliability of an article. So when you're looking at the article given, it's actually taken from the New Internationalist, which is not a reliable source because it's taken from a magazine. By using the New Internationalist as a source from where the article is from, it decreases the validity of the argument because it has a questionable reliability. In paragraph 1 of the article, In Greed We Trust, the author introduces his argument with a study from the General Survey of the United States. This may initially seem reliable, but the author later states that the study was done in the 1970s, which is 30 years after the article was published. The author then states in paragraph 2 that such findings, like the study in the previous sentence, can be used as proof that greed is toxic to well-being. This supports his thesis, however, because he's using an outdated study, it kind of counteracts his initial claim. The author also states in paragraph 2 that there is little doubt. However, this is not backed up by any actual evidence from trusted sources, which makes that statement invalid. In paragraph 3, the author, Shoemaker, uses statements from a psychologist. This speaker is most likely able to be trusted based on the credentials given prior to the introduction of his ideas. When analyzing the effectiveness of an article, you also want to find any fallacies that the author uses when building support for his main idea. So, for example, in paragraph 5 of the article, the author states that it is no wonder that greed enthusiasts, which is the use of hasty generalization, because he states that the given statistic is very obvious and that everyone should believe it. In the 6th paragraph of the article, the author uses a study of childhood obesity. This study is not supported by any factual evidence, statistics, or a valid source, and it does not benefit his thesis or his counterclaim, which makes his point unknown. The author states in paragraph 7 that more and more mental health professionals are saying, and this is a useless statement when trying to build his argument, and it makes a generalization and provides ideas from people without actually quoting them or saying who created these ideas. The author also states in the following paragraph a term that could help his argument because it's a fact proven, and it kind of develops his argument by using helpful terms. The author includes a statement in paragraph 9 from an American psychologist and greed treatment specialist. This is one of the only trusted sources he uses throughout the argument, which somewhat makes the ideas in this paragraph reliable. By using a credible source, readers can learn how to trust the author and believe the argument more fully. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.